Salute, guys. I'm back. Salute to everybody in the building, man. Yeah, man, gotta do it the right way. Can't handle the wrong way, guys. Y'all know I'm a perfectionist. My stuff gotta be right. I couldn't deal with that ticking and popping. Gotta get it back to the way that I do it. Oh well. You know what I'm saying? Oh well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Shout out to y'all. We most definitely back on track, guys. What's up, Gillian? What's up, y'all? What's up, Caramel? Yeah, let's get to it, man. It's looking like we got an end to the government shutdown, guys. Let's go.
Because those benefits will remain in limbo, at least for the remainder of this week.
Thank you.
If a recent flight of yours was delayed or canceled, you've lost unrecoverable time. If you're a federal worker who has gone without pay, you have lost the basic comfort of
Thank
predictability.
you.
And for some of you, the stress has been too much and you have quit, something you wouldn't have done absent this prolonged shutdown. All of you thus affected have
40
wanted
days
this
and 40
shutdown to
nights,
end,
guys.
and so it appears
It's looking
it
like it's
will,
about to be an
on
end
mostly
to it all.
Republican terms. President Trump and fellow Republicans refused to give an inch on extending soon-to-expire Obamacare subsidies. Democrats fought for 40 days for a deal on their terms and got nothing. Defeat always leaves a bitter aftertaste, and all Democrats have as a chaser is the notion that fighting Trump has elevated health care as an issue and exposed his willingness to inflict harm on, his words, not mine, Democratic programs. Plus, as one Democrat told me today, 40 days ago, we still, his words, had an East Wing, and Trump hadn't had a Great Gatsby Halloween party. Those may become memorable shutdown images, and they might have even helped Democrats win big in last week's election. To recover, Trump is now offering cash checks from tariff revenue. The Supreme Court, based on arguments just last week.
There y'all go with that $2,000 y'all been asking me about. It's coming from the tariff taxes. Basically, Trump is saying that he wants to pass out $2,000 checks to each and every American. Basically, the ones that are not rich, guys. Make sure you take time to double tap that screen. Most definitely hit that like button. Get the likes all the way up. We got 90 people in the building already. Only got 9 likes. If you're on a mobile device, double tap your screen or click those 3 dots. Hit that thumbs up. This is everything we know going forward with the government shutdown. Looks like it's nearing the end, though, with the Senate basically voting to reopen the government, guys.
May soon nullify. That rush to write checks speaks to an affordability dynamic Trump now seems hot to address. With a flurry of new ideas just this weekend, $2,000 checks, 50-year mortgages, and direct payments for health insurance. Who knows where any of that will go, but it's now part of shutdown theatrics. We will spend most of tonight's show going over all this, and we will follow the contours of the shutdown's end throughout the week. When all this started, we would open this program with a cavalcade of shutdown sound. Herewith, today's It's All About Over sound.
As we said from the beginning, the people's government cannot be held hostage to further anyone's political agenda. That was never right. And shutting down the government never produces anything.
I would encourage every member of this body, Democrat or Republican, pro-bill or anti-bill, not to stand in the way of our being able to deliver the coming relief quickly. The American people have suffered for long enough.
The American people have now awoken to Trump's health care crisis. Health care is once again at the forefront of people's minds. People now see that premiums are about to skyrocket. They're terrified about how they're going to pay for their insurance.
Our position as House Democrats.
Let's continue to get those likes up. Double tap that screen, guys, or click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new.
Anytime, any place, anywhere, in order to find a bipartisan path forward. But we're not down with their my way or the highway approach to governance.
Many of my friends are unhappy. They think we should have kept our government closed indefinitely to protest the policies of the Trump administration. I share their opinions of this administration, but cannot accept a strategy which wages political battle at the expense of my neighbor's paycheck or the food for his children.
We begin tonight with Daniela Diaz, who covers Congress for Notice. Remember, Notice stands for News of the U.S. Danielle, it's great to see you. This show lives in the moment, and as we speak, the Senate is moving towards some procedural votes to move all of this forward. Catch us up.
They most definitely have.
That's exactly right, Major. You know, normally I'm next to you on set, but here I am today on Capitol Hill because it's been, you know, a whirlwind here for the last 24 hours. It started yesterday. I remember with it unclear whether there would actually be a deal to end the government shutdown.
There go the 8 senator Democrats right there who voted with the Republicans in order to get the ball rolling on opening up the government.
We are right now, and the Senate's about to vote on the last procedural vote needed to be able to pass this proposal that was negotiated by 8 moderate Democrats, or I should say 7 moderate Democrats and 1 independent, Angus King, and of course, Republican senators. Once it passes the Senate this afternoon, we know that the House is going to come back at the earliest, by Wednesday to vote on that measure before it goes to President President Donald Trump's desk. What year is it? But to be clear, this has been just a month-long slog for Republicans, for Democrats to try to figure out how to solve this issue of ending this government shutdown. And what it really ended up being was rank and file Democratic senators working with Republicans, Major, to end the shutdown. Democratic leadership does not have buy-in. We're going to see Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer vote against this measure shortly. And of course, we saw House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries also slam this proposal that was negotiated by rank and file Senate Democrats. So it's interesting to see the fact that it was just a handful of moderate Democrats to really get this over the finish line, which is always what Republican leadership expected to happen.
Jeanne Shaheen, Democratic senator from New Hampshire, led this effort for those 7 Democrats and the 1 independent who made this happen.
Hey guys, make sure y'all double tapping that screen. We only got 18 likes. Let's get the likes up. If you're on a mobile device, double tap the screen of your mobile device to click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. That's how you hit the like button. It helps out the channel. Most definitely, please hit that like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're new.
Said today that the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was read in on all this, knew about all of this, let them do this negotiating, which has led to some consternation about Schumer's leadership. Maybe he should step down or be replaced.
Thank you, IGT.
Caitlin Huey-Burns, my colleague, talked to Bernie Sanders about that earlier today. Danielle, I want to listen to that sound.
Well, he's leading you all in the Senate right now. Do you think he should be replaced?
By whom? Well, that's the point.
Bernie Sanders.
The question is if somebody, look, again, Schumer's views are very different than mine. He is an establishment Democrat, no secret. I am not. I hope that by electing new members of the Senate, we will have, in fact, new leadership. But right now, you know, it is what it is.
Daniela, that's a phrase I think a lot of Democrats are going to be uttering all this week. It is what it is.
That's right, Major. I talked to a bunch of House Democrats who are incredibly upset with what took place in the Senate yesterday, what's about to take place when they vote on this proposal. Most House Democrats are going to vote against this measure. Most Senate Democrats are going to vote against this measure. Privately, of course, Democrats that are against this measure recognize that they were probably not going to get any sort of Affordable Care Act subsidy tax credits guaranteed the extension in any sort of proposal that the Senate was going to put forward, considering Republicans have the majority in the House and the Senate and the White House. But the real thing here is that the majority of the base and a lot of Democrats are saying that this is a cave from these moderates that negotiated this proposal, that Democrats have been clear that they wanted those tax credits extended by the end of the year, that Americans are going to be really affected with high premium healthcare costs, and that because this proposal was negotiated by moderate Democrats, they caved on this issue, and it's not guaranteed that they're going to get what they wished for from the beginning.
Certainly no guarantees at all. Daniela Diaz on Capitol Hill. Thanks so very much. We turn now to the White House, where we find Weijia Zhang. Weijia, is the White House under President Trump feeling slightly triumphant this afternoon?
Well, the White House is predicting that at the earliest there could be a shutdown deal sometime Wednesday evening into Thursday morning, and they
by
are
Wednesday or Thursday, this should be over.
They continue to blame the Democrats, and President Trump himself said that he was supporting the current bill because it does not include an extension of those healthcare subsidies that you and Daniela just laid out. And I know you had a montage of sound, Major, but the president himself just spoke a short time ago from the Oval Office about this, so take a listen.
We have support from enough Democrats, and we're going to be opening up our country. It's too bad it was closed, but we'll be opening up our country very quickly.
And senior White House officials also say that the administration has a plan to address some of those concerns about insurance premiums and the Affordable Care Act, and that they will begin to work in earnest on them. But again, stressing that they believe this is all the Democrats' fault, and even said that basically they're turning the clock back to September 30th, but nothing substantive has happened since then, except, well, a lot of arguing that we have been covering.
Part of this deal, Ouija, as you know, deals with Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program funding through the next fiscal year. The Agriculture Department on Friday said it was going to go forward with that. Then the Trump Justice Department went to the Supreme Court to stop this funding. Where are we with that for the remainder of this week?
Well, it is still going to be tied up in court, Major, because this administration has made very clear that they do not believe legally they can.
So it says the U.S. Senate has passed the deal to end the current record-breaking government shutdown in a 60-40 vote, guys. The senators are most definitely stepping up.
Just use some of these contingency funds and deliver the full SNAP benefits that, by the way, a court order issued them to do. So at this point, it seems they are staying firm. They intend to fight this out in court. But it is confusing for many of these states because we've seen so much pull and push about what they are supposed to do, because obviously they also have to take steps to make sure that they are compensated for the funds that their states are entitled to. And so, Major, we just have to see what happens next in court.
When states are confused, you know for sure.
So by Wednesday or Thursday, guys, we should know if this shutdown is over. All right, so Mike Johnson gave a speech today, to update the people on what exactly it is going on.
I'm very thankful to see you all this morning. I'm thankful to welcome you to what appears to be the beginning of the end of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, as shameful as that is. I don't think it's coincidental, you know how I think, but it's after 40 days of wandering in the wilderness and making the American people suffer needlessly, some Senate Democrats finally have stepped forward to end the pain. It appears to us this morning that our long national nightmare is finally coming to an end, and we're grateful for that. At least some Democrats now finally appear ready to do what Republicans and President Trump and millions of hardworking American people have been asking them to do for weeks. As we said from the beginning, the people's government cannot be held hostage to further anyone's political agenda. That was never right. And shutting down the government never produces anything. It never has, if you study history. And so here we are. I want to remind everybody this morning of another critical point that you've heard me here repeat over and over the last several weeks. It's something that I and Leader John Thune and President Trump and every Republican leader have all said repeatedly from the beginning. We have always been open to finding solutions to reduce the oppressive costs of health care under the Unaffordable Care Act. We just made clear that we would not and should not ever do that is negotiate as hostages. And I've also reminded you here every morning that this Republicans have not just been talking about reducing costs and fraud and abuse in so many areas and in healthcare. We've been actually passing new laws to accomplish that urgent mission for the people, and we will continue to do so. So here's where we are by way of schedule, just so you know, you're following. And if you're not at home, if you're waking up to
Hold up, Mike. Here we are. Let's get the likes up, guys. Double tap that screen. If you're on a mobile device, double tap that screen. We only got 49 likes. Get the likes up. Double tap that screen or click the three dots, hit the thumbs up. This is everything we know about the reopening of the government due to the Senate voting 60-40, basically to reopen the government, guys. Get those likes up.
Good news this morning. The Senate's vote late last night of 60-40 opens the door now. The Senate is moving forward on an amended House CR, continuing resolution, that will reopen the government until January 30th. Added to that are provisions to fully fund SNAP provisions through the end of the next fiscal year, which is September 2026, guaranteed back pay for all federal workers who have been made to endure these hardships over the last several weeks. And it also includes passage of 3 appropriations bills, which we're grateful to be moving through the process. That is the Military Construction Veterans Affairs Bill, it's the Agriculture Bill, and the Legislative Branch Bill. The Senate will be back in session this morning to finish their job, and we're certainly praying that they do. They'll need unanimous consent from all senators to fast-track their final vote. As you know, there are some procedural hurdles that one or more could throw in the way, but we certainly hope that they won't do that because so many people across this country are desperate for the government to reopen. At the very moment that they do that final vote, I will call all House members to return to Washington as quickly as possible. We'll give a 36-hour formal and official notice so that we can vote as soon as possible to pass the amended CR bill and get it to the president's desk. As you all know, and he said as recently as last night, I was with him, and he told the press, he said, we want to get the government open. He's very anxious to get the government reopened and to end the Schumer shutdown. We all are. With regard to the travel challenges, I spoke yesterday at some length with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, my former colleague and good friend, and he lamented the serious situation that we have with air travel in the U.S. He's bent over backwards, as all members of the administration and the cabinet have done in all of their areas of jurisdiction, to try to keep the government working for the people and to mitigate the pain and the harm. But the problem we have with air travel is that our air traffic controllers are overworked and unpaid, and many of them have called in sick. It's a very stressful job, and even more stressful exponentially when they're having trouble providing for their families. And so air travel has been grinding to a halt in many places. And as of Sunday, nearly half of all domestic flights and U.S. flights were either canceled or delayed. And it's a very serious situation. So I'm saying that by way of reminder. I'm stating the obvious to all my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats in the House. You need to begin right now returning to the Hill. We have to do this as quickly as possible. Now, we look forward to the government reopening this week so Congress can get back to our regular legislative session. We have a lot of business to do, as you all know, and we will be working in earnest. There'll be long days and long nights here for the foreseeable future to make up for all this lost time that was imposed upon us. I want to close with something that's important. I think it's important to say that this is genuine. I mean this sincerely. We applaud the 7 Senate Democrats and 1 independent senator who did the right thing. They decided to put principle over their personal politics. And my urgent plea of all my colleagues in the House, and that means every Democrat in the House, is to think carefully, pray, and finally do the right thing and help us to bring an end to the pain of the American people. This has gone on too long. Too many people have suffered, and it's long overdue. That's the update I wanted to give you this morning. There are probably lots of questions, but I'm going to get a lot of my own questions answered later today. So stay tuned for more. Thanks so much.
So, as we see, Mike Johnson is steady not answering any questions, guys. For the last 2 days, he hasn't took any questions. He always say, I'll get my answer later on today. So basically, he don't have nothing to tell us, guys. Shout out to Friedneck for those gifts. All right, but just like I said in my title, all Democrats aren't happy about what's going on with those 8 senators, basically Democratic senators, voting with the Republicans. Here's one of them. You know, he is most definitely upset. It says he says his party crossed the line,
exposing deep divisions within their own party.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is now facing calls to step aside. Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna writing he is no longer effective and should be replaced. As Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib says, Schumer is out of touch.
Lord have mercy while we got to go through this every day. Man, double tap that screen. Get the likes up, guys. We should be well past 200 likes by now with 674 people in the building. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, and make sure you subscribing to the channel if you're new, man. Let's get the likes all the way up. Continue to hit that like button, guys. Double tap that screen. It ain't hard. If you're on a mobile device, all you got to do is tap your screen or click those 3 dots and hit that thumbs up, guys. It helps out the channel. I ain't asked you for not $1. All I ask you is to hit the like button. I most definitely appreciate it if you hit the like button.
With the American people.
So Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman is one of the 8 Democrats who crossed the aisle to advance the bill, and it looks like officially tomorrow we're going to have an open government and end the longest shutdown in American history. Senator John Fetterman joins us now, and his book is now out today. It's called Unfettered, and it's really your life. And Senator, first off, how relieved are you that the government's going to be open?
Thank you, RGT.
I mean, so relieved. I think my party crossed a line of now putting 42 million Americans with their SNAP benefits and making flying less safe and that kinds of chaos and not paying our military. I mean, that was a red line for me that I can't cross as a Democrat. And I think that's been described country over the party. And now that I think that's been the truth throughout it, and it's only wrong to shut our government down, and I'm relieved. But the people now that are going to get paid and fed and millions of Americans, they're going to be flying now, that's going to be made more safe and restored.
So Senator Axios has a piece this morning that says Chuck Schumer was talking to the moderate Democrats, pulled them privately aside and said, I know you want to open up the government after 2 weeks. But don't do that. Don't cave to the Republicans. Did he ever talk to you? He knew how you were going to vote. Did he ever talk to you about it?
Absolutely no. I was not in a conversation, or I never got any outreach. Everyone understood. I really kind of led the charge back in March. And then I said, I know we'll be back in September. And I said, I know where my vote will be then too. It's always a hard yes to keep our government open. I mean, that's my principle because it's wrong to shut our government down. And now we knew that we would put those 42 million Americans for SNAP and paying our military and, the Capitol Police. I mean, people have went 5 weeks without being paid. I mean, that's a violation of my core values. And I think it's our party's as well.
So, Senator, you came in as somewhat an outsider. And by the way, I was wrong, totally wrong about you. I thought you were going to be a radical, and you've been totally different than that. Who is running the show now in the Democratic Party, in the Senate, in the House?
No one really knows. And I think my values are reflected in my vote and the things that I support here. And if that might put me at odds with parts of my party, I'm okay with that. I mean, we need to be a big party, a big tent party. So for me, it's like these are pretty reasonable. I mean, my party's always been opposing shutting our government down. I'm not sure why it's controversial now to devote these things. And I refuse to put all these people in the middle of this political kinds of brinkmanship.
So I want you to hear what Lindsey Graham said about you last night with Sean Hannity. Watch.
Senator Schumer is probably toast. He's probably can't survive in this environment. The question is, can Senator Fetterman? I think Senator Fetterman has got a hell of a story to tell to the people of Pennsylvania. I've been up here doing the best I can, and I think people are looking for that kind of attitude, not the Schumer attitude. They're looking for people to say, I will listen to both sides, and I'll use my own judgment, not be told what to do. All I can say is that we held our ground. The government is open. We're going to have a healthy debate about health care, and there's one person that had a lot to do with this we've never talked about much, and that's Donald J. Trump.
Your reaction?
My reaction is what I said earlier. I am truly elated that our government is going to reopen for all of the millions and millions of Americans now will have their lives brought back to normal. And now Senator Graham, I agree with him on several of the foreign policies now, and we have collaborated on those things. In fact, we really both agreed that striking the Iranian nuclears was entirely appropriate and necessary. So I think, the truth in those situations, regardless of the letter after their names. For me, where is our party? Our party is trying to figure our way forward, and mine's going to be an honest projection of where the direction and the kind of values that our party should embrace. And that's going to play out. But for me, I have no regrets. I've been very proud of the votes that I've made since I've been here as a senator.
Senator Fetterman, we were reading your book over the weekend and yesterday, and I took a lot of notes. I wanted to just reach out and hug you while I'm reading a lot of this because my heart was broken for you. You said that when you became senator, you never thought you'd be a senator. In fact, when you won, you said, quote, "I felt nothing." You said your family couldn't even get you out of bed. It was the worst 2 years of your life. You were depressed, you had the stroke, you had a heart condition. Your debate performance, you said, was one of the worst ever in politics. You said you lost the love of your family, your kids avoided you. You said you've always kind of been a loner. You had few close friends. You love to stay at home and watch movies with your family and your kids. And now you're a senator. You have to talk to all of your constituents. And you've shocked a lot of us. I thought you were so progressive when you ran as a senator. And then you sat down with that interview that Selena Zito did at your house with Dave McCormick and his wife. I know y'all have gone to dinner with them as well. So why the change? Was it because you almost lost your life? Your heart did stop at one point. So why the change? And why do you want to be senator? After reading this, you said you really don't like crowds. You have a small group of friends.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess medically, I technically died. Yeah, during the process, and it was very sobering when I woke up, and the doctors weren't able to even discuss in terms of months at that moment, and it's been. It was obviously very difficult, but I've emerged, and I'm grateful to sit in this chair right now and have this conversation with you right now. For me, it's like I really wanted to have a very honest book about and describe that journey because I think it's a very important conversation to have. And since I started talking about these things, I've had conversations from reach out from members of Congress or parents and actually their children as well too. People encounter me and they say, "Hey, thank you." And now I got help, or I decided not to do the awful choice. So for me, my message has been very, very simple. If anyone feels lost or they're in the throes of depression, I beg people, please stay in this game because I promise you will get better. Because 3 years ago, I was in the depths of that depression, and now I've emerged as a United States Senator, and I've been right now in the front of the middle thing, and now proud to reopen our government, stand with Israel, and also I am truly grateful.
So, Senator, what's next for Senator Fetterman? Governor, re-election for Senate, maybe running for president?
My future is to celebrate Thanksgiving, and it's like, and to celebrate, and we have to find a way forward. I am so profoundly, after my father had a similar kinds of medical situation, we both turned to each other and said, we should both be dead. And here I am. And ironically, after I nearly died from my stroke, and then I reached the point where I decided to take myself out. And that's also part of the truth of the brutality of the course, how difficult politics are. And now I've lost the taste to fight, and I refuse to use these kinds of terms or derogatory terms and things. I spend my time here in the Senate trying to find a way forward. And I believe Pennsylvania keeps people honest and remembering that there are two sides. And that doesn't make them fascists or terrible people. They're trying to destroy our democracy. Now, that's where I'm at. And
double tap that screen,
really
guys. Is how you hit the like button. Thank you, Positive Vibes.
Right here.
Yeah, I promise you, if you pick up the book, you're definitely going to be inspired. It's raw, it's honest, and the best chapters yet to be written. It's straight ahead for you, Senator. So pick up on Fetter today. Thanks for telling your story.
Thank you, Senator. God bless you.
So Senator Fetterman, says he's fed up with some of these Democrats in the Senate, man, especially when they chose to go to the Republicans, basically to reopen the government, guys. Let's go. More on this shutdown and how much backlash Chuck Schumer is facing, guys. They want him to step down.
Washington, where the government is now on the verge of reopening after a late night Senate vote. Let's get to Madeline Rivera, who's been tracking all the action overnight. Hi, Maddie. Hi, good morning, Carly and Todd. After 41 days, the light is finally at the end of the tunnel. The Senate voting 60-40 to pass a bill that will fund the government through January 30th. It also includes year-long funding bills for Congress, the Agriculture Department, and the military. But it does not include a deal on Obamacare subsidies, which is what Dems have been fighting for all along. Republicans are promising a side deal, a separate vote in December on a health care bill. The same 8 Democrats who voted to break the filibuster on Sunday stuck with Republicans. Senator Rand Paul was the only Republican to vote no. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is promising to fight on as the bill heads to the House.
Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats over the last 7 weeks have waged a valiant fight on behalf of the American people. And I'm not going to explain what a handful of Senate Democrats have decided to do. That's their explanation to offer to the American people. What we're going to continue to do as House Democrats, partner with our allies throughout America, is to wage the fight to stay in the Coliseum.
A growing list of House Democrats are now urging Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to step aside, saying he's failed to keep his caucus together to reject the bill. Congressman Rashida Tlaib saying, in part, the Democratic Party needs leaders who fight and deliver for working people. Schumer should step down. Meantime, the president says Republicans are considering a way to stop this shutdown stalemate from happening again.
How do Republicans avoid this shutdown saga from reoccurring on January 30th when this deal ends?
Well, we're trying to put in a bill, as you know, the bill or a bill, that you can never do that again. You can't just shut down the government because you're trying to renegotiate a deal that you didn't.
The House is expected to consider the Senate bill tomorrow, meaning final passage will probably happen late tomorrow night or Thursday morning. Carly and Todd.
Maybe while we are on air, if it happens early Thursday morning, we'll be watching Maddie Rivera. Thank you. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman was one of the Democrats who crossed the aisle to reopen the government. Again. He's going to be on Fox and Friends later this morning.
Let's bring in Georgia Congressman Rich McCormick. Congressman, good morning to you. On the scheduling front, can we expect the government to officially reopen tomorrow?
I sure hope so. I'm looking forward to getting back to work and actually doing the people's will. I'm excited about it, and it's about time.
Okay, so one unnamed House Democrat characterized the deal this way. I feel like Republicans took our first and second born child, and we got a bundt cake in return. So a lot of Democrats are unhappy that their fight over health care is over for now. What are your reflections on the past 40-plus days, and anything we can take away from this?
Well, it really worries me that the American people get the wrong message. I want to make sure that everybody realizes this is unprecedented. This has never been done in the history of America, where they actually shut down the government over a clean CR, something the Democrats had a vote, had actually agreed on historically on funding at their COVID levels, something they voted for. Something they also realized would not be permanent. They could never get this when they're in the majority, and they want to get this in the minority. If we gave in to them, this would change the way we did government forever, that you could rule from the minority. It's absolutely absurd. I'm glad we're past it. I hope it never happens again. I don't want to get rid of the closure vote, but what I would like to see is when we do something like this, if they do shut down the government again, that we fund the military, that we fund people who are actually working. People who don't work, fine, go home and don't get paid until you come back to work. But everybody's going to get paid. We know this already. So let's quit playing games and do the people's work.
I think you nailed the most important point of all of this. The Democrats had no leverage. You had a president who was not budging. You had a Republican Senate that was not budging. And so this was going to happen one way or another. Thank goodness for the American people that it is over sooner rather than later. Want to get your thoughts on this because today is, of course, Veterans Day. You are a Marine Corps helicopter pilot, Navy commander as well. What is your message on this Veterans Day, Congressman?
Well, first of all, thanks to all those who have served. It's about 5.5% of all the American population has served at one time or another. Less than 1% is actually active duty. I was with my fellow Marine Corps brethren last night. As a matter of fact, that's why I'm still dressed as. In Tun Tavern, Philadelphia is where we were born 250 years ago. That brotherhood is still as strong as ever. It was great to be with my brothers and sisters at arms. Don't forget them, though. Their suicide rate is still over twice that of the American population. Make sure you're reaching out, that you're not just plugged in today, but always throughout the year. Check in on your buddies. make sure we do the right thing for these people who understand sacrifice better than most.
Well, we thank you for your service every day, but especially today, as you're still in your bow tie from last night. It's a good look. It's a good look.
Late night. I thought you were doing it for us, Congressman, but we'll let it slide this time because it's
no. We expect a bow tie from you now every single time. Tis the season. Congressman, thank you
That's
so
how
much
much
for
I love
joining
you
us.
guys.
Oh, you're the best.
We
Yeah,
love you.
thank
It's
you
my
for
pleasure.
staying up
Semper
for us.
Fidelis.
We appreciate it. Happy Veterans Day to you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
So 8 Senate Democrats breaking rank, voting with Republicans to reopen the government and exposing deep divisions within their own party.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is now facing calls to step aside. Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna writing he is no longer effective and should be replaced. As Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib says, Schumer is out of touch with the American people.
So Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman is one of the 8 Democrats who crossed the aisle to advance the bill, and it looks like officially tomorrow we're going to have an open government and end the longest shutdown in American history. Senator John Fetterman joins us now, and his book is now out today. It's called Unfettered, and it's really your life. And Senator, first off, how relieved are you that the government's going to be open?
I mean, so relieved. I think my party crossed a line of now putting 42 million Americans with their SNAP benefits and making flying less safe and that kinds of chaos and not paying our military. I mean, that was a red line for me that I can't cross as a Democrat. And I think that's been described country over the party. And now that I think that's been the truth throughout it, and it's only wrong to shut our government down, and I'm relieved. But the people now that are going to get paid and fed and millions of Americans, they're going to be flying now, that's going to be made more safe and restored.
So Senator Axios has a piece this morning that says Chuck Schumer was talking to the moderate Democrats, pulled them privately aside and said, I know you want to open up the government after 2 weeks. But don't do that. Don't cave to the Republicans. Did he ever talk to you? He knew how you were going to vote. Did he ever talk to you about it?
Absolutely no. I was not in a conversation, or I never got any outreach. Everyone understood. I really kind of led the charge back in March. And then I said, I know we'll be back in September. And I said, I know where my vote will be then too. It's always a hard yes to keep our government open. I mean, that's my principle because it's wrong to shut our government down. And now we knew that we would put those 42 million Americans for SNAP and paying our military and, the Capitol Police. I mean, people have went 5 weeks without being paid. I mean, that's a violation of my core values. And I think it's our party's as well.
So, Senator, you came in as somewhat an outsider. And by the way, I was wrong, totally wrong about you. I thought you were going to be a radical, and you've been totally different than that. Who is running the show now in the Democratic Party, in the Senate, in the House?
No one really knows. And I think my values are reflected in my vote and the things that I support here. And if that might put me at odds with parts of my party, I'm okay with that. I mean, we need to be a big party, a big tent party. So for me, it's like these are pretty reasonable. I mean, my party's always been opposing shutting our government down. I'm not sure why it's controversial now to devote these things. And I refuse to put all these people in the middle of this political kinds of brinkmanship.
So I want you to hear what Lindsey Graham said about you last night with Sean Hannity. Watch.
Senator Schumer is probably toast. He's probably can't survive in this environment. The question is, can Senator Fetterman? I think Senator Fetterman has got a hell of a story to tell to the people of Pennsylvania. I've been up here doing the best I can, and I think people are looking for that kind of attitude. not the Schumer attitude. They're looking for people to say, I'll listen to both sides and I'll use my own judgment, not be told what to do. All I can say is that we held our ground. The government is open. We're going to have a healthy debate about health care. And there's one person that had a lot to do with this we've never talked about much, and that's Donald J. Trump.
Your reaction?
My reaction is what I said earlier. I am truly elated that our government is going to reopen for all of the millions and millions of Americans now will have their lives brought back to normal. And now Senator Graham, I agree with him on several of the foreign policies now, and we have collaborated on those things. In fact, we really both agreed that striking the Iranian nuclears was entirely appropriate and necessary. So I think the truth in those situations, regardless of the letter after their names. For me, where is our party? Our party is trying to figure our way forward, and mine's going to be an honest projection of where the direction and the kind of values that our party should embrace, and that's going to play out. But for me, I have no regrets. I've been very proud of the votes that I've made since I've been here as a senator.
Senator Fetterman, we were reading your book over the weekend and yesterday, and I took a lot of notes. I wanted to just...
Did it start over, y'all? I think it started over. That's crazy. We'll hear him out one more time, though. This is Fetterman. He is upset with Schumer, with the people who, the Democrats who basically voted against, who voted to open up the government, basically voting with the Republicans, guys. We had already seen that one. Let's go to this one.
To end the nation's longest government shutdown. The 60-40 vote saw 8 Democrats breaking ranks with their party to end the gridlock. Among them was Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, who says he changed his mind because Republicans, he says, had no intent to negotiate with Democrats.
I mean, that seems like kind of an arbitrary position, but I became convinced
some of the feelings, guys,
sincere about that they were not going to talk about it as long as government was shut down.
Well, next it goes to the House, which has been on an extended recess the past 7 weeks. Speaker Mike Johnson earlier today urged House lawmakers to begin their return to Capitol Hill. Airports across the country had major delays and cancellations today. National correspondent Atrell Nashar explains why travelers are likely to feel lasting effects of this shutdown.
Copy. Air traffic controllers missing their second paycheck in a row.
They can't pay for gas to get to work.
Yesterday, my kids asked me how long we could stay in our house. On Sunday, day 40 of the government shutdown, more than half of all major airline flights in the U.S. were either canceled or delayed, according to flight tracker data.
We need to figure this stuff out.
Air traffic controllers and TSA either working without pay or looking elsewhere for income. Some are doing both.
She has sold plasma twice, started delivering for DoorDash, and recently took a part-time job.
The shutdown is likely to end this week with the deal to fully fund parts of the government and provide...
It's so bad they got people selling blood. Lord, have mercy.
A temporary budget for the rest until January 30th. President Trump saying Monday morning, all air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. For those air traffic controllers who were great patriots and didn't take any time off for the Democrat shutdown hoax, I will be recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service to our country. For those that did nothing but complain and took time off, even though everyone knew they would be paid in full shortly into the future, I am not happy with you. And if you want to leave service in the near future, please do not hesitate to do so with no payment or severance of any kind.
This shutdown isn't a light switch. It's not just on and it's not just off. Air traffic controllers have to go in and be perfect every single day. And they know, based on what is in the current bill, that January 30th will loom around the corner.
The shutdown has made the existing air traffic controller shortage much worse.
Hey guys, let's take time to double tap that screen. Get those likes up. It's been stuck at 216 for a minute. Let's get the likes up. All you got to do is double tap your screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. It helps out the channel. I'm most definitely bringing y'all everything I know about the government reopening, the Democrats who basically voted to reopen it, you know, in the struggles within the Democratic Party due to some of the people that are Democrats siding with the Republicans and voting, you know, 60-40, basically to reopen the government, guys. Get those likes up.
I used to have about 4 controllers retire a day before the shutdown. I'm now up to 15 to 20 a day are retiring.
So it's going to be harder for me to come back after the shutdown.
Before news of the budget deal that's expected to end the shutdown, the FAA was on track to reduce domestic flights by 10% at 40 major airports. It's too soon to know if staffing levels will stabilize in time to avoid that. But starting Monday, at a dozen airports, most private air travel will be restricted too. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar.
President Trump is highlighting his administration's plan to build a new air traffic control system.
We are now in the process, we're in final bids of getting the finest system anywhere in the world. I've analyzed it. Sean Duffy has been working really hard on it, doing a fantastic job, by the way. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be handing out the finest air traffic control system anywhere in the world.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy outlined the plan earlier this year. He said it would reduce delays, enhance safety, and ensure that air traffic controllers have a system that they can rely on. President Trump's once again talking about $2,000 rebate checks.
I've been talking about it for a long time.
So here y'all go, man. I know y'all keep asking me about this $2,000, guys. Where it come from, what it's supposed to do. Here's Trump talking a little bit about it, and then I'll elaborate after this to basically break it down for y'all exactly what this means.
A dividend to people that, have suffered under the Biden administration. So Biden had the highest inflation in history, and we now are at a very low point. We're going to be hitting 1.5% pretty soon.
Republicans argue that stimulus checks under former President Biden helped to drive inflation. When President Trump began his second term, inflation was 3%, down from a high of nearly 10% in 2022. It was consistently below 3% in the 2010s. Analysts say inflation was one of the reasons why Democrats saw electoral gains in last week's elections. President Trump suggesting a 50-year mortgage to help people buy homes. It could possibly be done through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Now, the purpose of a longer-term mortgage is to lower the monthly payment for the homeowners. The thinking goes that the longer the term, 50 years in this case instead of 30 or 15, the smaller the principal needed each month to pay off the house in full. Now, going this route would not help build equity, though, very quickly, because the principal payments would be smaller and the amount of interest paid to satisfy the loan would be much higher.
All right, so that was that on that. Okay, a little bit more on these $2,000 checks, guys. Here goes, they're going to break it down for us and basically let us know what exactly this means, guys.
Under different laws.
$1 billion did almost $200 billion in tariff revenue in the fiscal year 2025 that ended in September. Now, President Trump wants to cut Americans a check, writing on Truth Social over the weekend that low and middle income Americans will receive $2,000 payments from the tariff income, and the rest will be used to help pay down the national debt. This is pending a decision from the Supreme Court, which just days ago cast doubt on the tariff legality or the use of power to impose these tariffs. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says a dividend can come in a lot of different ways.
The $2,000 dividend could come in lots of forms, in lots of ways, George. It could be just the tax decreases that we are seeing on the president's agenda. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans. So, those are substantial deductions that, are being financed in the tax bill.
Give me my money.
I love how the Treasury Secretary spun that little gem. He's like, well, it's not a check. It's just a tax cut that you already got. That was back in July.
Right. But the president does sound like he's talking about a check, if I'm not mistaken from reading that.
It may not be a check.
I think that he realizes that if you go the way of Bessent and try to explain it that way, there are going to be people that aren't touched by that, and they're going to feel like they were left out of it somehow, or that they got the short end of the stick. And so all of a sudden he's coming out with these dividend checks for low and middle income. And I'm thinking to myself, this is really interesting, as we're waiting to hear what the Supreme Court's going to do on this. After we listened to oral arguments last week, I didn't really think that the court was that positive positive on keeping tariffs in place in the same structure and form that they currently exist in. And then we started having the conversation, well, what would we do with the money? How would you give it back to people? This, to me, sounds like a way for the president to do that before the court tells him
we
what
ain't
to
getting
do,
no money, guys.
which gives him more power and more control over the narrative.
Sound like it's about like the Doge check.
I don't
It
know
ain't
what
gonna
the
happen.
Supreme Court will do, how they will rule on this particular case, but I always think President Trump is a few steps ahead of what is going to happen. I think they're already thinking about plans on rewriting these tariffs under different laws to be able to keep them in play if the court says that they're not allowed to. But this, to me, sounded like, you know what, I'm going to go spend this money before they tell me. And he talks about paying down the national debt with what's left over. I think, I mean, Taylor, I know you're in this camp. I would have liked to have him take the whole $200 billion and pay down the debt.
So, and that's where I am. Super cold take.
Don't take the whole $200 billion and pay down the debt. No, send Americans $2K in the mail. I need my check, man. I need my check. I ain't ashamed to say it. Send me my 2 bands. I need it.
Before this, I would not be handing out more stimmy checks, especially.
What are y'all talking about?
That a tariff is a tax on the
definitely hand out more stimmy checks. What are you talking about? We need that money in our pockets. All the hell we've been through, the government been shut down for 41 days. I need my 2 bands. Send me my money. Yeah, don't listen to these people. They don't know what they talking about. Listen to me, Trump. Send us two bands in the mail.
Consumer corporations are passing on the extra costs to the consumers.
Well, I guess I'm a loser then. Somebody type down there, losers need stimmy checks. Forget that. I need mine. Yeah, if I was rich, I would still want my $2,000 in the mail. I don't know what you talking about. Yeah, send me my money. You know what I'm saying? Send me 2 bands in the mail. I could use it.
We did this under Biden. Stimmy season has got to come to an end. I do not want government money that they're taxing.
Your mama a loser. Let's get him right up out of here. Rocket ships, you're going on a trip in your favorite rocket ship, zooming through the sky. Hater, bye-bye. We don't need you. Hater, bye-bye. Go. Yeah, man, we're going to put you right on that rocket, get you right up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Talking about somebody is this and that. Your mama is this and that. How you like that?
To then give to me. $2,000 is tons of money and would absolutely help tons of families, but I don't want to be relying on government for a check, even though it sounds so tangible. If you get a check in the mail with Trump's name on it, sounds great.
Inflation. Right?
Inflation.
We're going to just inject all that money. People go out. Charles Payne was talking about it the other day. They spend.
That experiment for stimmies, it doesn't work.
I agree with you 100% on the economics, but for the politics of it, I think for everyday Americans, what happens in Washington is so far removed. This makes it tangible, as you said. It brings it home, and it's a physical representation, or digital, because it comes in direct deposit, that what is happening with the trade wars? Why are we doing it? It's a patriotic refund in some way. But I agree with you 100%. We should not be spending money we collect over here when we have a big debt that we still have to pay down. Every last penny, we've talked about this. You're a saver. You use that to get yourself ahead. You got to do that as a country as well. We need fiscal discipline. But this could point to you bringing it. We talked about it on the break. Is it because the president's afraid of his economic approval rating, right? Affordability, that buzzword, won the Democrats a lot of seats. How do you make life sound like the Republicans are making life more affordable?
You know what the president is doing, which I like, though, is I feel like he's shifting his focus back to the economy. I'm not a huge fan of the $2,000 dividend because we are running a $1.8 trillion deficit just this year.
Thank you, Chris.
This money that we're getting from tariffs isn't even covering interest on the debt, a point you make all the time, Dagan. So, but what the president is saying, what he's saying by this is, I know that I've got to deliver results for the American people because that's why they voted for me. He's done a lot of great things abroad. He's done a lot of great things in other policy areas, but he knows his bread and butter is the economy and people feeling that in their wallets. And I think there's a sense that America hasn't quite felt it the way they want to or need to yet. So what I hear Scott Bessent do, and I agree with you, Dagan, he's massaging the issue in that interview. But I think what he's trying to say is there's juice in place in the Trump agenda that people are going to start feeling as they come into 2026. And I think he's just trying to point people ahead to that. Now, does that work in politics? I don't know. I think people want to feel it now. But I do think I see an administration pivoting back to the economy after doing a lot of good things other places, and that can't come a minute too soon.
Yeah, I agree. But where do you get the most impact, right? Again, I'm not arguing for these, but are you going to get a big impact on paying down the deficit with $200 billion payment? No. Are you going to get a big impact with going to tens of millions of Americans with a $2,000 payment? I think so. And I think this is a calculated political and economic move.
I think they took stock after last Tuesday's election, and they thought about, Brian, policy-wise, how fast the spokes in the wheel are coming together for people. And they thought that a little injection like this would remind folks that, you know, we've got your back until everything kicks in. But I still agree with you, Taylor. I don't like it.
President Trump, as of last week, was 25 points underwater on just inflation. And so there is that we need to turn the talk into the walk. And it's the talk of, oh, well, the Atlanta GDP now says how much the economy is going to grow in the third quarter. But
3.8%.
Right, but people go, so? But this is the walk. Turn.
Ironically, this will lead to.
Would you like me to say it better? Who are you down here? Kashan, your mother. How about that? Is that better for you? You don't want me to say yo. You want me to say your mother. Let's get Keyshawn the hell up out of here. We'll holler at you too. You take you a trip on a rocket ship. We'll see you later. Hater, bye-bye. We don't need you coming here and try to correct anybody's speech, guy. I'll say what I want to say. If I want to say yo mama instead of saying your mom or your whatever, however you want me to say it. Go to a channel where they're politically correct and pronounce all their words just the way that you like them. Over here, I pronounce the words however I want to pronounce them. You don't run nothing over here to be trying to correct me about nothing. Let's get you several seats, sir. We'll holler at you. You know what I'm saying? We don't need you over here trying to correct a thing. You hear me? Yeah. How about that?
More inflation, though, to your point, right?
That's right.
You're trying to fix the problem.
I'm not advocating for it, but I certainly understand President Trump's thinking behind this.
Agreed.
But I always thought that the tariff revenue was brilliant from an economic perspective because...
No, we ain't watching the news. We watching Batman. That's what we watching. To the person that just asked me, are you watching the news? No, we're watching Batman. We're watching our favorite cartoon right now. As if you couldn't see that we're watching the news. What a crazy question.
It's hidden and it collects revenue for people who pay no federal income tax. Because the bottom half of federal income taxpayers in this country pay virtually nothing. They only pay $63 billion total in all of the federal. They only pay 3% of all federal income taxes. So it's a way to collect some revenue from people who don't pay any federal.
Also an argument you can't make at the Supreme Court, however. If you made that argument, you would lose there.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming here playing with me like you run something over here. You don't run nothing over here, Doc. If you think you can do it better and you pronounce all your words just as exactly as they are supposed to be pronounced, and you know all your ABCs, won't you start you a channel and get somebody to come over there and listen to you talk? How about that, sir? You know what I'm saying? Or to the person that asked me if we're watching the news, duh, it's a news channel. Why wouldn't we be, man? You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Make sure y'all take time to double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button if you're on a mobile device, or you can click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. If you like the brand of entertainment you get over here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. We on the road to 55K. Every subscriber counts. So subscribe, guys. More on the shutdown, guys, and how it could be over.
Look live at the Capitol Dome. High temperatures there will only hit 45 degrees today, so it's chilly. But inside, lawmakers are warming to the possibility of reopening the government. And that's where our government shutdown edition of today's top stories begin. The Senate approved a funding package last night, sending it to the House. Lawmakers there could vote on the bill as soon as tomorrow afternoon. And with a GOP majority, it is expected to pass. Flight cuts at the busiest airports in the country will ramp up today from 4% to 6%. Now, this is due to a mandate from the FAA, which is concerned about safety and the air traffic controller shortage. And even though it looks like the shutdown may end soon, there are concerns about delays lingering even after people start getting paid again. But some more progressive lawmakers are frustrated with the 7 Democrats and 1 independent senator who voted with Republicans. CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns spoke to Senator Bernie Sanders, who called the shift a disaster. She also spoke with him about criticism of Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Do you think he should be replaced?
Oh, yeah, let me warn y'all right now. You know, I also say y'all instead of you all. I'm from Texas. We say y'all around here. Yeah, just so y'all know. I say y'all instead of you all. If that helps out anybody out there, since a person had a problem with yo.
Why home? Well, that's the point. The question is if somebody, look, again, Schumer's views are very different than mine. He is an establishment Democrat, no secret. I am not. I hope that by electing new members of the Senate, we will have, in fact, new leadership. But right now, it is what it is.
CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian is on Capitol Hill with the latest on this. Good morning, Nicole. So, as we mentioned there, progressives are upset at the moderate Democrats over this deal, but those moderate Dems in the Senate would have known they're going to take heat for this. So, where does this leave Democrats as a party?
Yeah, well, I think let's back up for a second here. I mean, obviously, in terms of the moderates, their big thing was they just did not see that this was sustainable. And so that is why ultimately they decided to break ranks with the party. There has always kind of been this moderate progressive divide within the Democratic Party, but the Republican Party for that matter, too. Neither party is a monolith. But, in terms of progressives, I think the issue is, for many of them, they almost feel like this is a case of deja vu. We know that Leader Schumer took a lot of heat in March when he voted, along with a small group of Democrats, to extend government funding through a continuing resolution. Obviously, this time he changed his position, but at the same time, you had this group of moderate Democrats who backed this new extension of government funding. And at the end of the day, despite holding out for more than a month, Democrats ultimately didn't secure their key demand, which was to get an extension of these Affordable Care Act tax credits. And really, the fate of those remains in limbo. Yes, the Senate has pledged to hold a vote on those. Leader John Thune has made that commitment and said he's willing to work with Democrats on that. But Speaker Mike Johnson has not made that commitment in the House. Furthermore, we've seen the president rail against these tax credits, even though he acknowledges that he believes the Affordable Care Act needs to be overhauled. So Democrats feel, especially those progressives, feel like, why did we do all of this when we didn't get what we wanted out of it? That is why we should have held the line, kind of forced Republicans' hands a little bit more. And they believe that Leader Schumer was kind of complicit in this. Leader Schumer, though, for his part, was very clear that he understood that this was a difficult dilemma within his party. So we will certainly see how the politics of this plays out. But at minimum, we know that the government will reopen probably within a matter of days once this measure clears the House.
Yeah, fascinating to watch this all play out. Nicole Killian, thank you very much.
All right, so we also have Jeffries basically speaking on this whole entire situation as well. Hakeem Jeffries, guys, showed up on CNN in the Situation Room and spoke
service that
on all
sacrifice
of this
and
as well. Hold on, let's rewind it.
Reopen the federal government.
Well, good morning. Great to be with you, Wolf. Great to be with you, Pamela. Great to be back on the Situation Room. Let me first just say we express our heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to all of our veterans, our men and women who have worn the uniform. Thankful for their service, their sacrifice, and continuing to give us the freedom that we cherish here in this country. It's our expectation that the House will vote at some point tomorrow, and House Democrats will strongly oppose any legislation that does not decisively address the Republican healthcare crisis. We want to reopen the government. We'll continue to stand by our hardworking federal employees and civil servants, but we have a responsibility to make sure that we extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits so that tens of millions of Americans don't experience dramatically increased health care costs that's going to prevent them from being able to see a doctor when they need one.
As you know, the bill that will be on the House floor would fund the federal government until the end of January, some key agencies through the end of next year. What do you see happening on January 30th?
Well, I think what's going to be important over the next few weeks, once this issue is resolved relative to this particular piece of legislation, is that on December 31st, the Affordable Care Act tax credits expire. And dozens of House Republicans have been claiming over the last few weeks that they know that is something that needs to be addressed. And now we're going to have to see some action, or whether it was just talk from these House Republicans, because Democrats are going to continue to stay in the arena as it relates to dealing with the health care crisis that Republicans have visited on the American people. Understand that this year Republicans have enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. This is after Donald Trump promised in late January to love and cherish Medicaid. And we know that hospitals and nursing homes and community-based health centers are closing all across the country. And now, because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, there's a risk over the next few weeks that tens of millions of Americans will not be able to afford their health care. We're talking about working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans. That's why Democrats are continuing to fight hard on their behalf.
But as you know, in the Senate, 7 Democrats and 1 independent who caucuses with the Democrats, they actually broke ranks to advance the funding bill, a 60-40 vote. They needed 60 votes. They got the 60 votes. The Republicans, with one exception, all voted for it. We spoke with one of those Democrats who caucus with one of those Democrats, Angus King, about why he decided to accept the Republican plan.
A lot of collateral damage was happening. People's lives were being hurt. If the tactic isn't working, and there were no prospects that it was going to work, then let's move on, not make a lot of other people suffer in order to get a goal that wasn't attainable.
Angus King of Maine, he's an independent, as you know, Leader Jeffries, but he caucuses with the Democrats. What's your response to his comment and his vote?
Well, the suffering that has been visited upon the American people over the last several weeks is very consistent with, unfortunately, the suffering that Donald Trump and Republicans have visited upon the American people since day one of his presidency, where we've seen these Republicans unleash extreme levels of aggressive behavior that does not make life better for these Americans. It makes life worse. And we've seen it. An all-out assault on the economy, an all-out assault on healthcare, an all-out assault on nutritional assistance, an all-out assault by these Republicans on veterans and farmers and law-abiding immigrant families and the American way of life and, of course, democracy itself. And so our fight, obviously, is going to continue through whatever happens this week, because as House Democrats, we're committed to driving down the high cost of living, to fixing our broken healthcare system, and at the same period of time, cleaning up the corruption that exists in Washington, D.C., in the Congress, at the Supreme Court, and of course with the Trump administration, the most corrupt administration in American history, so we can actually deliver a country of the people, by the people, and for the people.
I just want to be precise. You say the Supreme Court has been corrupt? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that the outrageous behavior by individual justices like Clarence Thomas and Justice Alito, and the failure to have an ethical code of conduct is corrupt. These are the only people in the country who can operate above the law. And so what I'm suggesting is that as we focus on delivering a country that actually works for working class Americans, we've got to make sure that every single branch of government is working in a manner consistent with lifting up the quality of life of everyday Americans and holding themselves to the same standards that working class Americans are expected to live by, work hard, and play by the rules.
The Senate Democratic Minority Leader Chuck Schumer voted against the deal last night, but he's being severely criticized for not having enough control over his caucus to stop those 8 from defecting. Your colleague Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California, says the time has come for a change. Listen to this.
He's the leader of the Senate. This deal would never have happened if he had not blessed it. It's time for him to be replaced. He is not meeting the moment. He's out of touch with where the party's base is.
What do you think, Leader Jeffries? Do you agree with Ro
They want
Khanna?
Schumer
Do you think
out of there.
Schumer should be replaced?
Leader Schumer did not bless this agreement. He voted against it. And of course, Senate Democrats who voted no have made that clear. And what we've seen from Senate Democrats over the last 7 weeks has been part of a valiant fight that we have waged together to stand up in defense of the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people. And we know Senate Democrats voted down the partisan Republican spending bill that gutted the health care of the American people 15 or 16 different times. And listen, it's unfortunate that you had 8 or so Democrats, 7 Democrats, who made the decision to vote in a different way than the overwhelming majority of the Senate Democratic caucus, and what you'll see from the overwhelming majority of House Democrats when the bill comes over to us. But they're going to have to explain themselves. This fight continues, and over the last several weeks, we have successfully elevated this health care issue such that the American people are demanding action. And now it's going to be on Mike Johnson and House Republicans to demonstrate. Are they willing to actually do something for someone other than the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected? And there's an opportunity to do it by making sure that the Affordable Care Act tax credits are extended. Every single Democrat stands behind that proposition in the House. Let's see what the Republicans decide to do tomorrow.
Well, let's listen to Speaker Johnson for himself, because he was asked about that by our Jake Tapper last night, and here's what he said.
So you're not committing to bringing up a bill that deals with the Obamacare subsidies before they expire?
I'm not committing to it or not committing to it. What I'm saying is that we do a deliberative process. That's the way this always works, and we have to have time to do that, and we will in a bipartisan fashion.
So how do you see this playing out?
Well, let's understand, this is the same group of people who rushed back to Washington in early July to enact their one big ugly bill. The largest cut to Medicaid in American history, ripping health insurance away from about 14 million Americans. At the same period of time, they enacted a $186 billion cut to nutritional assistance. These people literally ripped food from the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans. And all of this was done, the attack on healthcare and the attack on SNAP, all of this was done so they could reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks that they made permanent. Yet they haven't found the time to even bother considering extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits so that tens of millions of working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans don't experience dramatically increased healthcare costs in an environment where the cost of living is already too high. Perhaps one of the reasons why they're not dealing with this with any degree of urgency is because their leader, their puppet master, Donald Trump, apparently believes that the affordability crisis in this country is all made up. And maybe that's why we're not seeing any action from Republicans, because they're just taking orders from their boss.
Well, we have had Republican Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene on, who actually has expressed the concern about affordability in America and the continuation of those ACA subsidies. As you know, she has been a fierce defender of President Trump, but recently she's run counter to the White House message, and her change of tone has not escaped the president's notice. I want to take a listen to this.
I truly believe that's an utter failure. And you can't expect people to show up and be passionate about voting for you when you're not even going to work, and they're going to work every single day and struggling to pay their bills. I think domestic policy should be the most important issue that the president and the Republican-controlled House and Senate.
Let's take time to double tap that screen, guys. Get the likes up. Most definitely. Double tap your screen. If you're on a mobile device, click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. That's another way to hit the like button, man.
Are working on, and that showed up in the election on Tuesday.
I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. So when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of vernacular, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know.
Do you think she's lost her way?
I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has correctly indicated that Donald Trump and Republicans have spent more time focused on bailing out their right-wing dictator friend in Argentina. They found $40 billion to bail out Argentina, but can't find a dime to make life more affordable for the American people. Yeah, that's a problem. It's a problem that in the middle of this government shutdown, the longest Trump Republican shutdown in American history, Donald Trump has spent more time on the golf course than he has actually talking with members of Congress or Democrats on Capitol Hill who represent half the country, as part of an effort to do what we've been saying from day one we should be doing, which is lowering the high cost of living. Donald Trump, in fact, promised on day one to lower the high cost of living, but in America, costs aren't going down, costs are going up. Housing costs under Republican policies, through the roof. Grocery prices, through the roof. Electricity costs, through the roof. And now, tens of millions of people facing these unprecedented, dramatic increases in health insurance costs, and Republicans don't give a damn about it.
The Democratic Minority Leader in the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries. Leader Jeffries, always good to have you in the Situation Room. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Jeffries on how he's feeling about all of this. Now, we most definitely heard a lot of mentions of Schumer. Basically, they want him to step down, guys. It's crazy, man. The Democratic Party is most definitely divided. We also heard mentions of Trump, guys. Trump is today. You know, it's Veterans Day. Shout out to any veterans that may be in the building. They're most definitely having a wreath ceremony. And J.D. Vance and President Trump are due to speak at this wreath ceremony, guys. This is live. This is live right here. Double tap that screen. Get the lights up as we go live over here to where they're about to give us.
I remember an A1C who was on deployment. He came back and he said, I am now making big money. He said, I can actually help my family and I can buy Christmas presents for those that didn't get any last year. It's about the stories of those as a young man, and just a little bit young because he's in his 80s, at one of our VA hospitals in hospice, who I walked in on him just the other day, and he was playing on the keyboard, Just a Closer Walk with Thee. Veterans Day is about veterans that were not special necessarily when they came up, but they saw a vision and a calling, and they said, I want to be a part of our armed services. So when they raised their hand, they made a choice to become one of our favorite in the world, and that is a veteran who serves this country. So as we come to this day of service, this day of happy Thanksgiving for people who are willing to serve, I would just have one word from the half of this administration, and I want everyone to hear it clearly, whether you're in the media, Congress, or anywhere else. I'm a little bit tired of people saying that veterans keep getting stuff. No, veterans do not get anything from this country. They have earned everything that they are getting, and I am committed to making sure they will always have that from this administration and this VA, and that is my promise and this president's promise to you. And with that, it is my honor to introduce to you a father, a husband, and yes, for those in the audience, a Marine. Oh, come on, Marines. There we go. My Marines ain't let me down on this one, because now I get to introduce the great Vice President of the United States.
J.D. Vance.
His honor. It is his Marine, and I'm making him wait just a minute. It is Mr. Vice President. He is ready to use.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Doug. You're doing a great job at the VA, and I want to say just a couple things. I've learned a couple things from working so closely with the President of the United States. The first thing is that he loves our nation's veterans and has committed our nation's administration to putting our veterans first every single day. And the second thing I've learned about the President of the United States is that he really hates when somebody who's speaking before him goes on for too long. And so with that in mind, I have prepared a very brief and very inspiring 1 hour and 45-minute speech on this beautiful Veterans Day out here in the cold. But let me just give 3 very brief messages. First, to our nation's veterans, thank you. Thank you for serving and sacrificing. We've all got so many good stories of people that we served with over the years. During my 4 years of the Marine Corps, I met the very best of America, people who are willing to put on a uniform and risk their lives for their entire country. Just yesterday morning, I met people who lost limbs, who lost very, very important family members, who lost their psychological health going out there and serving the United States of America. So whether you gave a little bit or whether you gave a lot, every single person who put on the uniform of this nation deserves our gratitude on this day especially, but every day. And so from the Vice President and the entire administration to our nation's veterans, thank you for your service, thank you for your sacrifice, and thank you for making us proud every single day. The second message is to the nation's political leaders. I happen to believe that the most valuable resource that we have isn't the incredible wealth of natural resources of this country, as amazing as it is. The most important natural resource that we have is that we have hundreds of thousands of young people every single month who sign up to put on the uniform and risk their lives for their fellow citizens. That is a resource we cannot squander. That is a resource we must protect. And so, to every elected official who's here today, our obligation, our sacred responsibility to our veterans is to make sure that the American military is the bravest and best fighting force anywhere in the world, and to make sure that every time we ask our nation's military to go off to war, we give them the training, we give them the resources, and we give them what they need to kick the enemy's rear end and to come back home safely and quickly. That is our obligation to you. And my third and final message to the American people, I'm asked all the time how to best honor our veterans. And this day in particular gives you an opportunity, and it doesn't have to be difficult and it doesn't have to be complicated. If you find yourself at a restaurant this evening and you see somebody wearing a uniform, buy them a meal if you're able, or buy them a beer. If you see a veteran of our nation's armed forces, if you know somebody in your family, give them a call and say thank you. I heard already this morning from my mother-in-law who sent me a message early California time, and it touched my heart. Just knowing that we have loved ones who recognize our service, who care about it, and who care enough to go out and say thank you. So the American people, if we want to keep on ensuring that the very best and brightest sign up for our military, the very best way to do it is to make sure that the veterans know that we are grateful to them. And so it's with great pride that I am introducing a man who is proud of our veterans, who fights every single day for the veterans, and who is proud to be the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Armed Forces, President Donald J. Trump.
Let's take time to hit that like button, guys. Double tap that screen. Get the likes up. This is live. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new, guys.
Thank you, JD. Thank you very much to our great Vice President. It was a good decision I made. This morning on these hallowed grounds where generations of American heroes rest in eternal glory, we gather to fulfill the sacred duty of every free man and woman. On Veterans Day, we honor those who have worn the uniform, who have borne the battle, who have stood to watch, whose ranks have formed the mighty wall of flesh and blood, bravery and devotion that has defended our freedom for 250 years. Today, to every veteran, we love our veterans, we say the words too often left unsaid. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much. And we want to also say thank you for carrying America's fate on your strong, very broad, and proud shoulders. Each of you has earned the respect and the gratitude of our entire nation. We love you, we salute you, and we will never forget what you have done to keep America safe, sovereign, and free. Thank you very much. And we're also honored to be joined by a great man. He will go down as a great man someday. Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker. Wherever you may be, Speaker. We love you, Speaker. There he is, right there. Good. Got a good location. He always gets a good location. And congratulations to you and to John and to everybody on a very big victory. We're opening up our country. Should have never been closed. Should have never been closed. I want to thank Secretary Doug Collins, who's outstanding, just done a fantastic job for the veterans. We have a 92% approval rating. We took that up from 38% from a certain previous administration that we won't mention. Also, Secretary of War, we like the sound of that better than the other. Secretary Pete Hegseth. Pete, thank you very much. Thank you, Pete. Great job. Our great Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Pam, thank you very much. Thank you. Secretary Doug Burgum. Doug, thank you. Thank you very much for being here, Doug. The #1 energy person anywhere in the world, acknowledged. I was amazed that he took the job and he did it without hesitation. What he gave up, what Doug gave up, what all of them gave up, nobody would ever know, but Secretary Chris Wright, #1 anywhere in the world, acknowledged. And drill, baby, drill, Chris, right? Drill, baby, drill. The energy prices are way down. They're going further. Secretary Linda McMahon, Education, moving education back to the states, Linda, right? Getting it back to the states where it belongs. Secretary Laurie Chavez DeReamer, thank you, Laurie, very much. Director Russ Vogt, Director, thank you. What a good job he's doing. Cutting, but fairly cutting. Director Tulsi Gabbard, thank you, Director. Ambassador Jamieson Greer, what a job he's done. We've taken in trillions of dollars in tariffs, and we want to keep it that way. It's been good for our country, I can tell you, including national security. General Dan Kane. General, thank you. He's a real general. And congratulations on wiping out the nuclear capability of Iran in about a matter of seconds once they got there. They traveled a total of 37 hours, but once they got there, they were very quick. And also to many other very distinguished guests, we have an amazing group of people. I'd like to name every one of you, but I think a lot of people would be upset. It's a little cold. The pages of American history are filled with the tales of titans, icons, innovators, and trailblazers who built this country into the greatest, most ambitious, and most prosperous nation the world has ever seen. And we brought it to new levels. I'll tell you, we were going in the wrong direction for a period of time, but we've never been hotter than we are right now. This is the hottest country anywhere in the world. Yet every captain of industry, every pioneer of science, and every star whose brilliance has lit up the lights of Broadway all share one thing in common. They only had the chance to soar because the veterans had the courage to serve. They took care of those people. They took care of all the stars. The stars that you read about wouldn't be here without our veterans. Everything we have, everything our country has achieved has been purchased by the muscle, spine, and steel of the United States military. We owe it all to the fierce and noble men and women of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, and the United States Marines. Here's a guy. Our service members, our own words, are the greatest possible tribute to their immortal valor. Shortly before the Battle of Bull Run, Major Sullivan Ballou of Rhode Island became a big name, didn't he? Wrote to his dear wife, Sarah. He said, "I know how great a debt we owe to those who went before us," he said. "And I'm willing, perfectly willing, darling, to lay down all my joys of this life to help maintain this government and to pay that debt." Just 1 week later, Major Ballou did just that. He gave his life to save our country. On the night before he jumped into the dark skies over Normandy on D-Day, Colonel Bull Wolverton knelt with his men in prayer. Dear God, he said, we ask only this, that we die, we must die, and we as men would die without complaining, without pleading, and safe in the feeling that we have done our best for what we believed was right. We must do what is right. Colonel Wolverton, too, died for us so bravely in battle. Today we remember with overwhelming gratitude the more than 1 million American service members who have made the supreme sacrifice and laid down their lives for the good old USA. Generation after generation, America's warriors have left behind the comforts of home and family to face violence, evil, and death so that our families could know joy, goodness, and peace. We honor them so strongly. Our heroes have lived through unthinkable nightmares so we could live the American dream, and the American dream is coming back again, stronger than ever before, and you'll see that as the next few years evolve. They have volunteered to give their last breaths to all of us so that we could breathe free. And today we know without any doubt in our hearts that after 2.5 centuries, America stands tall because America's veterans stood so strong. And soon our country will be stronger than ever before. The American veteran has forged a legacy of gallantry and daring without parallel in human history. In September 2009, Army Captain William Swenson was driving through the Afghan mountains when his convoy was ambushed by over 60 Taliban insurgents. He and his comrades were pinned down for hours without artillery or air support. A fellow soldier was shot in the chest, and Captain Swenson crossed an open field to aid his brother in arms. People said, "Don't do it, Captain, don't do it." He did it. When the terrorists closed in around them and demanded their surrender, Captain Swenson threw a grenade at the enemy and rallied his men to break their advance. He then carried the wounded soldiers hundreds of yards to a rescue helicopter before charging back 3 times, back and forth into the fire to save the wounded and bring them home. Even after 7 hours of fighting, he refused to leave any man behind. Retired Lieutenant Colonel William Swenson is here with us in Arlington, and for his actions that day, he proudly wears the Congressional Medal of Honor. Colonel Swenson, thank you very much. Thank you very much, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. The ultimate honor. Thank you. Another person who shows the Medal of the American Veteran is Dale Stovall. As an Air Force helicopter pilot in Vietnam, Captain Stovall was assigned to rescue a downed American airman deep in hostile territory. Despite the extreme peril, Captain Stovall took off in his HH-53C helicopter and soon came under intense fire, forcing him to turn back. But the captain refused to abandon his mission. The next day, he willingly plunged back into the danger while taking fire from all directions. He didn't have a chance, he felt, but he said, "I got to do it." He rescued the downed American pilot who had been stranded on the ground for 23 days and brought him back home alive, completing the deepest rescue behind enemy lines in the entire Vietnam War. For this and 11 other harrowing rescues, he was a brave guy. Dale received the famous Air Force Cross and the Distinguished Flying Cross and 2 Silver Stars, making him the 4th most combat decorated Air Force Academy grad of all time. He retired as a brigadier general after 31 years of service. General Stovall, you are a legend. Please, thank you. General Stovall. Thank you very much. Thank you. You look good, General. I wish I looked that good. You look good. Thank you very much, General. America's warriors never quit, never surrender. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win. That's what we do. We win battles. As you know, today is not only Veterans Day, but it's my proclamation that we are now going to be saying and calling Victory Day for World War I. Victory Day, you know, I was recently at an event and I saw France was celebrating Victory Day, but we didn't. And I saw France was celebrating another Victory Day for World War II. And other countries were celebrating. They were all celebrating. We're the one that won the wars. And I said, from now on, we're going to say Victory Day for World War I and World War II.
Victory Day.
And we could do for plenty of other wars, but we'll start with those two. Maybe someday somebody else will add a couple of more because we won a lot of good ones. But when I see other countries celebrating Victory Day, I watched it. I watched UK, I watched Russia. They were celebrating Victory Day, World War II. And I said, we got to have a Victory Day. Nobody even talked about it in our country. But from now on, we're going to be celebrating Victory Day for World War I, for World War II, and frankly, for everything else. Under the Trump administration, we're restoring the pride and the winning spirit of the United States military. That's why we have officially renamed the Department of Defense back to the original name, Department of War. And remember, we won World War I, we won World War II, we won everything in between, we won everything that came before. And then we brilliantly decided to change the name of this great thing that we all created together. And we became politically correct. We don't like being politically correct. So we're not going to be politically correct anymore. From now on, when we fight a war, we only fight for one reason, to win. We fight to win. And under my leadership, we're also fighting for the great veterans who have always been there for us, and especially when we needed them and needed them most. In 9 months, the Trump administration has cut the backlog of VA benefit claims in half. That's a big achievement, and Doug is going to get it down to zero. During the Biden administration, the backlog exploded like we had never seen before, and I'm going to eliminate 100% of that backlog. We're moving at that pace, and already we processed more than 3 million backlog claims, the most of any year in the history of the VA. We've added more than 1 million extra service hours across the VA centers, and we've opened 20 new facilities in 13 states, something that people said just not possible to do. We also have brought back VA choice and VA accountability, taken away by the Biden administration, so that when you have to wait online, you go out and you get yourself a doctor. We pay for the doctor if you have to wait. And the other thing is we fired thousands of people who didn't take care of our great veterans. They were sadists, they were sick people, they were thieves, they were everything you want to name, and we got rid of over 9,000 of them. And then when Biden came in, he hired them back, many of them, but we got rid of them. And I think we got rid of them permanently. We replaced them with people who love our veterans, not people who are sick people. We're also confronting the challenge of veterans' homelessness, and earlier this year I signed an order establishing the National Center for Warrior Independence to house up to 6,000 veterans in need, and we will not stop until we've ended the tragedy of homeless veterans once and for all. I'd see in New York where people that came into our country illegally, they came in illegally, would be put up in hotels, and veterans would be sitting on the sidewalk outside of that hotel where these other people are put in, and many of
Make
the
sure
people
if you're
that
new
came
to the
in
channel, guys,
were
you're
put in from
subscribing.
prisons,
Subscribe,
they were
subscribe,
murderers, they
subscribe,
were drug
guys.
dealers. They were people that we didn't want in our country. They were staying in hotels, luxury hotels, and our veterans were sitting on the sidewalks watching them go in. I said, that's never going to happen under this administration. I also signed the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act because no veteran should be kicked out of their home for what they call a late payment. It's not happening. And I'm pleased to report that since January, the veterans' unemployment rate has fallen by more than 26%. That's amazing. Work hard on that. And I also want to give a very special thanks to all of the veteran service organizations that work so hard. They're all represented here today, but they work so hard on behalf of our great veterans. And one of the heroes who reminds us of why we fight for those who served in uniform is Army Major and West Point grad Jonathan Turnbull. In 2019, Jonathan was conducting an operation in Syria when a suicide bomber approached and detonated his vest, leaving Jonathan gravely wounded, so badly wounded they thought he had no chance. The injuries were so severe the doctors gave him, everybody, they just looked, they all cried, they knew him, they loved him, and they were just crying. They said, no chance. He was resuscitated 3 separate times and he underwent 22 surgeries, but he refused to give up. He wanted to live. He loved this country. He loved his family. He wanted to live. He was going through hell. I visited Jonathan at Walter Reed in 2020, remembered so well, and today I'm delighted to say that Jonathan is not only alive, he is here with us, back on his feet, and living a great life alongside his beautiful wife, Samantha, and their 3 incredible children. Jonathan, Samantha, please, God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. Where are you? There he is. There he is. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're a tough guy. You're a tough one. Nobody could have gone through what you went through. He's doing good, isn't he, huh, Samantha? Thank you very much, both. And in conclusion, from the very beginning of our country, our great American flag has always been shielded and protected by a special cast of citizens who has stepped forward to safeguard liberty's cause. When danger came, when duty called, when Almighty God asked, who had the will and the strength to defend the land of the free, each and every American veteran stood up and said, here I am, send me, here I am. They've come from every corner of this nation, from the cornfields of Iowa to the hills and valleys of California, from the steel towns of Pennsylvania to the vast plains of Texas, from the banks of the mighty Mississippi to the 5 boroughs of New York City. With selfless commitment and unyielding conviction, they made themselves America's ramparts and became the shield between our homeland and those who would do us harm. With everything they had, they did one thing above all else. They put America first. On the decks of destroyers, beneath the thunder of cannon fire in the cockpits of our beautiful B-2 bombers. Aren't they beautiful now? We respect them so much. What a job they did. That in an instant completely obliterated Iran's nuclear capability, of which we have just ordered, I have to say, many more of the updated versions of that incredible piece of art. They defended the American Republic, dispensed American justice, crushed the enemies of freedom, and vanquished the forces of wickedness and evil. That's what we've been doing. Because of what every veteran has done today, the flame of liberty shines bright. The people of our nation sleep safe. The American dream surges forward. And our magnificent destiny stands more splendid and glorious than ever before. So I want to say thank you once again to every American veteran. You are very, very special people and always in our heart. And thank you very much. And God bless you and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
So there you have Trump, guys.
Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, please stand and join the United States Army Band and Chorus in singing God Bless America and remain standing as we retire the colors. Please place your right hand over your heart or render a hand salute.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a song.
Oh my goodness, Michael, you off the chain, man.
God bless America.
Yeah, that's enough of that. I agree with Michael. All right, so just as I told y'all about Schumer, guys, facing all this backlash, it doesn't get any better. Speaking of him and Trump, let's check out what happened.
As Senator Tester can attest to, after senators take a vote like this, after working through the weekend, they are out of town. I've seen many of them on their way to do just that, because now this is a story that is squarely in the House. The House members are doing the opposite. They're trying to flood back to D.C., and one of the problems is one of the pain points that we've been talking about throughout this entire shutdown, the fact that we're seeing a decrease in the number of flights being able to take off, massive delays, a lot of cancellations, all because air traffic controllers and TSA agents are among those who have been working without pay over the course of the last 5 weeks. Of course, House members need to get back to town in order to end this government shutdown. Right now, our understanding is that Speaker Mike Johnson puts the earliest possibility for a vote tomorrow at around 4 p.m. But again, given the margins where they are and the fact that they're probably going to need all Republicans with a straggler or two Democrats to cross party lines and vote for this, attendance is going to be key. So we're likely to see that slip if we see that lawmakers' flights are being delayed or canceled. That's sort of the open question right now.
Meantime, Senator, we are seeing a rift within the Democratic Party over this deal. And Senator Schumer appears to be taking the brunt of it. Politico had this quick roundup of recent reactions on the Hill. Senator Chris Murphy calling it a mistake. Senator Bernie Sanders called it a very bad night. Representatives Ro Khanna, Seth Moulton accusing Schumer of being ineffective and even calling for his removal. Senator Tester, as someone who has been there for some of these moments of division, do you think Schumer's role as leader is in jeopardy?
Well, I think it depends upon the Democratic caucus in the United States Senate, and I don't believe so. I think I've watched Chuck work in the caucus, everybody from Joe Manchin to Bernie Sanders' perspective. It's not easy, and he does a good job of that. Most people, in fact, nobody sees that except folks that are in the Democratic caucus. He was in a no-win situation. Remember the first shutdown, they were mad at him because he voted to keep the government open. Now they're mad at him because he actually voted to keep it closed.
Or are they mad at him now because he couldn't keep those 8 Democrats on his side to not reopen the government?
They might be mad at him for that, but I'm going to tell you, the Senate is different than the House. People in the Senate do their own thing. I was one of them that did my own thing. When a Chuck would come up to me and say, geez, could we vote this way? I would say, No, Chuck, I can't. I have to represent my constituents. They do more of that in the Senate than they do in the House, I believe. And I think that you just can't control the senators like you can in the House. Those folks are running for office all the time. In the Senate, they're not. And I think it's a lot more thoughtful body, and it's a lot more difficult to control them.
Jeff, does this deal, do you think, kill the momentum Democrats were feeling after last week's elections?
Not at all.
Well, that's certainly what you're hearing from.
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead. Why don't you take it?
Yeah, that's certainly what you're hearing from some members of the base, that those 7 Democrats in the Senate and the 1 independent who caucuses with the Democrats did this deal on it at the precise moment where Democrats felt as if they were winning the politics of this fight. That Democrats, many believed, had the moral and strategic advantage, and that more Americans were starting to feel the pain of this shutdown, and that they were blaming Donald Trump for the flight cancellations and delays, for the 1 in 8 Americans who rely on SNAP, who literally did not have money to put food on the table, and here comes Thanksgiving, for the federal workers who are getting $0 paychecks. But as Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia put it to me yesterday, he's one of those 7 Democrats who voted in favor of this deal. From where he sat, he didn't see that Democrats were going to have a better advantage or a better strategic position or more leverage a week from now, a month from now, and that Donald Trump was all too happy to let people starve effectively and to let federal workers to continue to collect $0 paychecks and stay on furlough because he'd already fired thousands of them. So from where he sat, it behooved him as a senator who represents millions of federal workers in Virginia to do this deal and to reopen government and to have an agreement to deal with ACA subsidies later next month.
So, Senator, you don't think this kills Democratic momentum?
No, not at all. I think Democrats have a tendency to overplay their hand. This puts the healthcare premium increases, this puts SNAP squarely on the Republicans. And the truth is that I don't know that they're going to fund Obamacare premiums. I don't know that they're going to fund SNAP. But the truth is Republicans could blame the Democrats for this. Now they can't. They have majorities in the House, the Senate. They control the executive branch. It's on them. We'll see if they're going to work for the American people or if they're going to work to implement Project 2025.
Laura, the president has not exactly been out there taking victory laps at this point. How does the White House actually feel about this deal?
The White House looks to be supporting this deal so far, on a White House official telling me that they were looking forward to seeing this bill progress, that the president wants the shutdown to end. But he was asked about this also last night on Fox News, and he was asked about what he thought about how Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer handled the shutdown. Take a listen.
Well, we're trying to put in a bill, as you know, the bill or a bill, that you can never do that again. You can't just shut down the government because you're trying to renegotiate a deal.
What message do you have for Schumer tonight?
Well, I think he made a mistake in going too far.
Going too far, or how?
Well, he just went too far. He thought he could break the Republicans, and the Republicans broke him.
So clearly, even though the president was not happy with the election results last week, feeling as though he seems to have won this round with Democrats and taking a jab there at Schumer, calling the way they handled it a mistake.
Allie, let's talk more about the health care piece of this. As part of this agreement, the Senate will hold a vote on the ACA tax credit issue next month. That is not necessarily the case in the House. Our colleague Michael Schnell asked Speaker Johnson if he would bring that issue to the floor. Let's watch.
Look, we're going to do in the House what we always do, and that is a deliberative process. I mean, we're going to find consensus on whatever their proposal is.
But will you bring it to the floor for a vote
As
and
you
let
know,
it fall if it
as
doesn't
you
have the
know,
votes?
as you know, I do not guarantee the outcome of legislation or dates or deadlines or anything. I have to, wait a minute, I got to build consensus among the members, and that is what we will do.
But it's not
exactly as we have always done, exactly as I always do.
But it's not guaranteeing an outcome, it's guaranteeing a vote.
I can't guarantee that.
Hallie, what should we make of that answer? Aren't Republicans worried about health insurance costs spiking?
So this has been one of the dynamics that we've been tracking that's foundational to why so many Senate Democrats are upset with where they landed here, because you'll remember a few weeks ago, Senate Majority Leader John Thune sat down with me exclusively and publicly floated the idea that he could guarantee his Democratic colleagues in the Senate a vote, but he could not guarantee them an outcome. And what Senator Tester said about the idea of potentially overreading the election results or overplaying the Democratic hand is certainly something that moderate Democrats who hobbled together this deal were keeping in mind themselves. They thought, and I'm reporting this out for a story that we'll try to put out tomorrow, that their Democratic colleagues were seeing the election day wins and sort of extrapolating too much from them and getting away from the idea of a bipartisan consensus that would need to happen in order to end the shutdown. When it comes to the ACA subsidies vote, Senator Jeanne Shaheen was saying to me and a small group of reporters yesterday that what she got in this deal is the ability to control the floor, to write the bill. All of that makes sense, especially when you consider that she says that a dozen or so Republican senators have reached out to try to put their own imprint on what this might look like, which means that there is consensus and the potential to reach 60 votes. But the reason that this has been percolating throughout the entirety of the shutdown is because Senate Democrats do not trust that even if they were able to get a vote that would pass the Senate, and again, that is a really big if, that they question what House Speaker Mike Johnson would do with it. And that is sort of the second piece of it. So not to jump the shark here yet, it would have to go through the Senate before it would hit the House. But listening to the speaker there, that again is where the trust deficit came into these negotiations and why Democrats feel like they didn't necessarily get anything.
But on the other hand, one thing we've heard from the Democratic senators who backed this deal, and even frankly from Schumer, is that Republicans missed their chance to address rising healthcare costs. So now Republicans will own the economic damage. Senator Tester, is that a convincing political argument?
It's hard not to point that out. I mean, the fact is, as I pointed out, they control the House, the Senate, the presidency, the government's open. Their job is to make sure they're working for the American people. And we've seen inflation for the last 10 months go through the roof. And insurance inflation is difficult. I mean, you take 20 million people and double their insurance rates or increase them significantly. You take the folks on SNAP and don't supply them with the food that they need to survive. I mean, this is all working against our democracy. And I think people are going to see it for what it is. And it's in the Republicans' lap.
All right, so there was some more on what's going on, basically with Schumer. But wait, there's more.
This time, President Trump backed to reopen the government. They did so without getting anything particular or specific in return, and that is bad news for Leader Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, they are circling in the House. Schumer's bid to extend the health care subsidies fallen flat on his face, and a growing number of Democrats are calling for his ouster. President Trump, sitting down with Laura last night on the Ingram angle, addressed it this way.
So knives are out, it looks like, for Chuck Schumer. Ro Khanna is already calling for him to be replaced. What message do you have for Schumer tonight?
He just went too far. He thought he could break the Republicans, and the Republicans broke him. We have good policy, they have bad policy. And there's something, I don't know if it's Trump derangement or are they just crazed. They're like crazed lunatics, but we have just great policy.
So Aisha Hazy leading our coverage from the Hill. Let's begin there. Aisha, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you both. So the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, has called the House to return. This sets us up for a Wednesday vote to finally reopen the government. But as you know, the margins are extremely slim right now in the House Republican majority. There are always going to be conservatives who don't like voting for a CR. In fact, House Speaker Mike Johnson has historically been known to vote against a CR. So we might see some folks who put up a fight over that. But this time, President Trump backs this deal, and the House Freedom Caucus is also playing ball. There is hope that the conference is on board, minus maybe a Thomas Massey. The speaker can only lose 2 of his own members if all Democrats vote no. And right now, you guys, the Democrats are whipping a no vote. Do expect, though, a few moderates on their side to support this deal as well. The real drama isn't the vote, it's the Democratic divide. Last night, the same 7 Senate Democrats and 1 independent that helped Republicans break the filibuster Sunday helped them pass a funding bill. Several Democrats calling for Chuck Schumer to step down now after weeks of shutdown pain. They got really no firm guarantees on the Obamacare subsidy situation. They'll get a vote on the extension in December, but Speaker Johnson will not commit to giving it a vote if it actually gets through the Senate.
So you're not committing to bringing up a bill that deals with the Obamacare subsidies before they expire?
I'm not committing to it or not committing to it. What I'm saying is that we do a deliberative process. That's the way this always works, and we have to have time to do that, and we will in a bipartisan fashion.
Okay, so we'll see if it affects negotiations there. Listen to this. Axios is reporting that Chuck Schumer asked those moderates to hold out until November 1st when open enrollment began before reopening the government. So their reporting is suggesting that these moderates really wanted to reopen the government. They were very queasy about all of this, but they basically deferred to Schumer, and that is why it has lasted this long, until they couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, you got to wonder if their hand was forced in the very beginning. Aisha, nice to see you on the Hill. We'll watch it by the hour.
Mary Catherine Ham joins us now, Fox News contributor. Watch this from some Democrats demanding that Schumer step down. This is Tlaib saying that he has failed to meet this moment and is out of touch with the American people. Seth Moulton, he's of course running for higher office. Tonight is another example of why we need new leadership. Mike Levin, Senate Democrats would be wise to move on from his leadership, and Ro Khanna saying Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. So it looks like this gamble for him to try to look tough and forcing this shutdown has led instead to this intra-party fight amongst the Democrats, in which it might have been the straw that broke the camel's back that could lead to him no longer being in leadership.
Yeah, they put themselves in this position. He put himself in this position. I've seen a lot of dumb shutdowns that achieved nothing, but this was a very dumb shutdown that achieved nothing. And the problem for Democrats, of course, is that there really are people hurting, and a lot of those people are their own constituents. And so it's been sort of astonishing to see the party that loves government rejoice that the government was shut down long enough to help them boost numbers in 2 state elections, hurting people in the process, as they always say when there's a shutdown from the other side. And then when a couple of people get sense and say, wait, but we like the government to operate, let's open it again, they get mad at those guys. And they've demoralized their base.
Make sure if you're new to the channel, guys, that you subscribe. We need 50 more subscribers, guys, to hit 55K. So if you're in the building and you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe, guys. Every subscribe count. Make sure you're double tapping that screen. That's how you hit the like button if you're on a mobile device, or you can simply click those 3 dots and hit the thumbs up. The Democratic Party is most definitely divided over some of them deciding to vote with the Republicans to open up the government, guys. We need 50 more subscribers to hit 55K subscribers, so make sure if you're not subscribed, you subscribe to this channel, guys.
In the process, this is because the ask that they were doing, which was for the extended Obamacare subsidies, which, by the way, have no income cap, go to rich people, go to a lot of fraud, were meant to be temporary and in an emergency situation during COVID. When they asked for those, that wasn't really the ask. The reason they were doing the shutdown was because everyone was ticked off and they wanted to show they were fighting. But they were never going to get anything because Johnson, Trump, Thune all turned out to be immune to the media pressure over this, which was not put on Democrats as it should have been and was put on Republicans. And here we are. They've taken their big electoral win and turned it to more demoralization for their base. Congratulations.
Okay, so
quite jiu-jitsu there.
Yeah, I was talking about the buzzard circling, at least on the House side they are. Here is David Axelrod last night suggesting that Schumer's days are numbered. Listen carefully.
Do you think Schumer could be in trouble here with the left flank of the party?
I think he's been in trouble. I think he is in bigger trouble now. I think Senator Schumer's been there since 1982. My guess is that he won't be leader of the party in 2027 after this election, unless something really surprising happens.
You're welcome to wax on that, Mary Catherine. Let me read this from Axios. Democrats shut down civil war spills out in private call. More than a dozen House Democrats spoke on the call, with the vast majority slamming the deal, a volume that reflects deep outrage between the 2 chambers. I will point out 2 things. Not a single Democrat senator is talking like they are on the House side. Not yet, anyway. And you wonder whether or not Republicans have an opportunity here to reshape health care. Those conversations are happening. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do think they need to be prepared for that conversation and to be ready to pitch incremental changes to healthcare, like health savings accounts improvements that allow people to have more control over this and that would heal Obamacare to some degree. So they need to be ready for that. I also think the opportunity lies in the fact that, yes, the left is looking for new voices. They probably will oust a Schumer character in the future, and many others, by the way. They're going to run in these primaries all over the U.S. There's a very slim margin of turnable seats for the House, and if they run really far left, exciting candidates who want the government shut down forever in those places, a lot of normal voters who are not committed to either side and independents are going to perhaps pull the lever for Republicans when that is the option that they're given. So I think they're putting themselves in some danger. And we've seen this play out with the Republican Party during the Tea Party era as well. Some of those primary challenges worked out great, like Marco Rubio. Others did not, like Christine O'Donnell in Delaware. So these things can go badly for the party when there's excitement there, but it's geared toward the farthest left flank of that party.
Well, it's fascinating to watch, and again, it was self-imposed, so we will watch it. We'll stay in touch with you, Mary Catherine. Thank you.
Thanks, MK.
All right, guys. So we heard from Trump. We heard from Mike Johnson. We heard from Hakeem Jeffries. When it comes to this government shutdown, guys, it's looking like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel, and we should know by tomorrow or Thursday, guys, whether or not the government is going to reopen. I most definitely am a fan of the government reopening. There's a lot of American people that are suffering due to the shutdown. People are not getting paid. They cutting off SNAP. They cutting off the benefits to the veterans, people who really need this money. I know a lot of people like to focus on the people who abuse the system, but then at the same time, there are really people who need the system as well, whose life has been impacted by this shutdown, guys. We see that they want Chuck Schumer out of there. It's Democrats and Republicans out there that wants no more Schumer, guys. They're saying, get him up out of here. He's too old to be off in here. We need to get fresh new people into some of these positions. Man, I don't know. It's crazy. I doubt if they'll get Schumer out of there, anytime soon. He's most definitely fighting tooth and nail, basically on this healthcare situation, man. So as they keep me up to date, I'll keep y'all up to date. We most definitely heard from J.D. Vance and President Trump speak to the veterans on Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to any veterans that's out there. We most definitely appreciate each and every one of y'all who fought and basically served for the United States of America to keep us great, and keep us free. And with that being said, guys, we've came to the end of the show. That 2 hours went by quick. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I enjoyed y'all. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you are new. We on the road to 55K. Like I said before, we need all the subscribers we can get. So subscribe to everything new. If you haven't took time to hit that like button, please double tap that screen, guys. Get the likes up if you're on a mobile device, or you can click those 3 dots and hit that thumbs up. But yeah, as long as they keep updating us, I'll keep updating y'all right here on Everything News, your one-stop shop for everything going on in politics, hip-hop. If it's in the news, I'm covering it, guys. So shout out to the new subscribers as well as the old subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for taking time out of your day to view my channel, man. Shout out to my members, all of them, the old ones as well as the new ones. Shout out to my moderators for keeping this chat rolling smooth. I most definitely appreciate y'all. Sometimes I know it get a little chaotic down there, but I appreciate y'all keeping everybody in line and most definitely keeping the channel running smooth. So until I see y'all again, y'all make sure y'all take care of y'allself. Once again, happy Veterans Day to any of the veterans out there. And with that being said, y'all know how this go. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Make sure you turn your notification bells on to all so that you don't miss anything coming from this channel. Y'all be good. I'm gone, I think.